What is up, everyone? It is your girl, Taina Lina Rivera Rosario, and you are listening to another episode of Modest Tea. Today, we have two special guests. This is their first time ever on the podcast, and it is my boy, Nephtaly Torres, and my little brother, Gerson Rivera, aka Gigi, aka G. He prefers G because Gigi is no longer
That's a pre-puberty
there. You
right
go.
there.
Anyway, so this is our first time on the podcast, which I am very, I didn't even think about that. I just, this is kind of like a last minute idea. I was at Gigi's house and I was at Orgy's house and I'm like, hey, like, you want to do an episode? And he was like, sure, when? And I was like, today. He's like, oh, okay, sure. And then before we started recording, I called up Nephtaly and was like, you trying to do an episode today? And he was like, when I first called, the first thing he said was no. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no to whatever you're going to say or ask me.
Literally.
And I'm like, how do you even know that I'm going to ask you something? Which she was right. It was if you wanted to record an episode today. And he asked what it was about.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we're going to probably talk about men's mental health.
Right.
And he came speeding here. He was like, yes, I want to talk about that. I'm so passionate about men's mental
I gotta talk about my feelings. I'm definitely passionate. And I definitely sped here.
He was like, I'll be there at 7:40. He came here at 7:10.
I was ready to clock out of work, to be honest. I needed an excuse to get out of there.
Oh my lord. So they're here. You guys say hello, introduce yourselves, or whatever it is.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nephtaly or Nephty or Neph. I'm glad and honored to be here. All right, well, I'm G. Again, I am Tina's little brother. Glad to be here as well. I think it's an interesting topic just because, again, like this is something that we don't ever really dive into. And I guess we'll, further into the podcast, find out a little bit more why from our perspectives. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so obviously, I'm not a man, but it would be nice to hear, your guys' perspective. And obviously, every man's perspective is different. Each person goes through their own individual, experiences and things like that. So the response is, I don't expect for them to be the same, right? But is men's mental health, still something that should be discussed, especially in today's age? I think so. So that's what we're going to dive into a little bit. And I just want to start off with the first, a question, right? In your guys' perspective or words, what do you think are the most common mental health issues faced by men today?
I think it's the fear of being judged by everyone. It's not even by females, it's also by men.
Mm-hmm.
Judged in a way where you get confronted with an opinion like, oh, you're not man enough. You're not being man enough. You're not acting man enough. And then going into a personal level, like, you're not man enough for your wife. You're not man enough for your family. You're not man enough as an individual. Like, to be man enough, it's almost like you're gaining respect. If you're man enough, you get respect from other men.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like low key, there's a competitiveness between men, the community of men, the men community, where it's like, oh, he's more manlier than me, or I want to be manlier than him. It's very competitive. And the fear of being judged and belittled by other men, especially in front of family members that are expecting you to be the man. It almost like reduces the respect that everyone else has for you. It could be respect that your wife has for you, or even your own children. But we always want to be the manliest man that we can, and that could mean many things. So.
Right. What about you?
I guess for me, it's that reality doesn't care about what you feel. And by that, well, from my point of view, like, for instance, I got a wife, I got two kids, we're homeowners. Every now and then I'm either working or Rosa's working. And if I'm feeling some type of way, I can't say, hey, kids, I need a break. Hey, wife, I need a break. Hey, chores in the house, I need a break. They're going to build up. And life continues to move on with or without you. And the thing is, yeah, like we need to feel these things. And sometimes I feel like, this is probably just me. For men, it's almost like when we get the man cold. Women, they're sick, they got broken bones, and yet they're still cooking, cleaning, taking kids to appointments. But men get a little sniffle, and we're bed rested for a week, you know. And emotionally, well, the thing is, like, yeah, emotionally, I feel like guys, when it comes to our emotions, like, we have to keep in mind time and place. Right now is not the time to worry about what I'm feeling. I need to get this done. But then when we want to express ourselves, we need to really shut down and process what we're feeling. Because if we don't, it'll probably just build up in a negative way. So yeah, that's, for me, it's just a reality that time and reality doesn't, it's not always in our favor. Where for women, I feel like, yeah, the second a woman cries or is going through a tough time, the whole community is there for them.
So you think that the common mental issue that a man would face is that their feelings are being validated?
Invalidated or sometimes postponed.
Yeah, just
And
disregarded.
even to a point where, oh, your feelings matter, but let's talk about it another time. What do you mean? I need it now.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, imagine needing someone the most and they're not there for you. So you have to learn how to handle it yourself. And going through certain things in life, there's things we don't know how to deal with. And it's like learning how to ride a bike on your own without training wheels.
I feel like it really just depends on the people you surround yourself with.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of factors that depend.
Yeah.
It depends on the different factors, like what kind of family you're raised in, what kind of community that you're around, what kind of support system, if you have one, what kind of support system are they? So it really all depends.
Do you think that men are just like naturally wired though to kind of keep their feelings and stuff like that inside? Or do you think it still depends on how they were brought up?
Brought up because you see that kids, boys or girls, when they go to crying, they cry.
Mm-hmm.
When they go to throw a tantrum, they throw a tantrum. Like, it's not really naturally in them to be like, oh, I can't throw a tantrum.
Right.
So naturally, I feel like we all want to vent and we all want to throw a tantrum and complain. But as we get older, whoever's raising us, they guide us in a different direction than the girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, according to the adult, whatever they envision that a male should be, that's what they instill in the boy. So it really does depend on who's raising you.
I guess from my perspective, that makes sense, where it kind of depends on how you were raised, but after a certain point, it can't be the excuse. It doesn't matter how you were raised.
Yeah,
It
then
matters how you want to go
it's
about.
on you.
Yeah, it's on you.
It's on
Exactly.
you. Like, do you want to continue with the mentality that's been instilled in you, or do you want to carve your own path?
So now that you guys are grown, right? Like, gee, you're married, you have kids, now do you have your daughter? You know, I don't
Yeah,
I'm up here.
right. And everything else.
Yeah, you got your thing going on, you have your daughter, things like that.
Right.
You guys have lived a certain life, right?
Mhm.
You guys have gone through many experiences, many situations in your life. Um, how do you feel now that you are in the position that you're in about your own mental health as a man?
For me, I think, okay, overall, it's important to look at things how I feel God would want you to look at things. And I know.
If I were to ask you right now, G,
Yeah.
how is your mental health right now? From a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being you're doing great, and 0 being like, man, I need
You're a
a
dead
lot of
man.
help right now.
You're a corpse.
What would it lie on?
Well, currently, just because of all the stuff,
Right, but still.
I would say probably like a 6.
Okay, Nephtaly, how about you?
I guess 7.
7's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
7's pretty good. You don't even need to be here.
I mean, this isn't therapy. This isn't therapy. It's
Okay. So how do you think that how does society stigma around masculinity, right, impact, thank you, men's willingness to seek help, right? Like you guys, your numbers are, I mean, 7's a great number, 6 is almost middle. But if there was ever a time where you guys felt like you needed help, right? Like, because I'm pretty sure even myself as a person, like if I were to say, hey, my mental health has always been at a 7 or 8, I'd be lying, right? Like sometimes I'm at a 2 or a 4 or a 5.
that's real low.
Depression, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, maybe I rated myself too high because he rated a 6. I'm like, well,
I mean, I'm in a good mood today.
Like, I'm doing better than him. I'm gonna give myself a 7.
Well, wait, actually, he's a 7. I'm an 8 now.
Okay, a 2 is pretty low. I'll say that, but it was just an example.
It's like
I'm gonna kill him.
Where that rope at?
Where the pills? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Lord Jesus. No, but I'm just saying, like, we always have like our ups and downs, right? So as a man, have you ever? Because for me, like, when I think about like seeking help, right, a woman I feel like always has some sort of help. Right, she has her girls. Maybe she has a good relationship with her mom. She goes to her mom.
Right.
Sometimes even her dad. If she's like a daddy's girl or something, like she'll go and kind of like vent out or whatever. But as a guy, society has kind of built like this stigma around masculinity, and around men seeking help. And now that I'm in my 30s, I've seen so much about, hey, like, yeah. I've seen so much about like, hey, men, it's just as important as you guys to seek help, like get therapy. If someone were to tell you as a man that you should seek therapy to help you, how does that make you guys feel personally?
Yeah, I when I was a little younger, if someone were to say you should seek therapy, I would feel offended. Because it's almost like putting me under some kind of judgmental light.
Yeah.
Like if I'm the only one that has problems, like how about you, kind of thing,
Right.
But now, that I'm older, I would love to seek therapy, but everything is so expensive nowadays that it's not as accessible as you would like it to be. So what I do is I pick who I want to sit with depending on what kind of advice that I feel like I'm in need of. So before I get to that point, I have to first take time with myself and observe, like, what is it that I'm going through? What am I feeling and why am I feeling this way? And what will make me feel better? Sometimes I'm in the mood for someone to kind of scold me or be rough with me. Sometimes I'm in a mood for like a soft word. So that'll determine what kind of person that I go and approach. Like I can call you and vent, or I could call G. You both are going to give me 2 different words.
Which one am I going to give you?
You're going to give me
the realistic.
No, you both are more you both are grounded. But you're coming from a perspective of a female, he's coming from a perspective of a guy. He's bringing in his experiences and you're bringing in yours.
Yeah.
So it depends. That's what determines who I go to and what kind of help. Sometimes I don't go to anyone. Sometimes I'll take it into prayer.
Right.
Or sometimes I just need maybe to eat something and that's it, or watch something funny.
But now that you're older, you don't feel offended, right? Or do you sometimes you still feel like,
it depends who's saying it and what intentions do I feel they're saying it
right?
with. You know, if it's someone that I don't have a good relationship with, yeah, you kind of feel like it's an attack because where is it going to come from? You have no love for me.
Be like, you need therapy.
Your mom.
No.
So, but if I know it's someone like you, right, that we've become closer over the months and whatever. If I know it's coming from a person like you, then I won't get offended. Unless you're like, yo, bro, you need therapy, son. I'm like, yo, relax, bro. Unfriend you.
You need help. Unfriend me and block.
Unfriend and report it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How about you, G? Like, if someone were to tell you to go get therapy,
I always start with
you would what?
I always start with because I don't know. I just feel at a loss for words.
Do you feel offended though if someone like?
I've been told numerous times.
Literally everybody.
I did one last week. You need therapy.
I'm just no. I don't like to seek help.
Okay.
And
why?
I don't like to seek help because I feel like not for nothing. There's a lot of great people, great therapists, great friends. You know, everyone will have something good to say. But I do not like constantly hearing something I already know I need to do. So I will just tell myself it and move on. So I'll help myself. And so for someone to say, hey, maybe you should seek therapy so they could tell me something I already know, something I'm already doing. This isn't something that I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. I don't need anyone to do anything for me. If anything, if I come to you, let me vent it out. And I feel like I self-reflect a lot enough to know, okay, well, this is the problem. What's the solution? The majority of the times, or it should be all the time, but I would just say for the sake of conversation, majority of the times the solution should be found in God. And that's who I try to seek it from. Through his word.
All the time?
Through probably someone from the church. Like, hey,
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah. Like not a therapist. Because again, one, it's expensive. Two, as iron sharpens iron, so do one person does for another.
Well, there is Christian therapists.
Okay, what are they gonna do? The blessing of the Lord is gonna be their payment?
No, I mean, what if it's $50 too much?
We're men. $50 is too much for anything besides food and tools. And,
no, that's not true. My point is, like, would you ever? Because I feel like sometimes a therapist, they went to school, they studied certain things that people that your friends didn't.
Don't, right?
And they can give you a perspective that is very unbiased because they don't know you. They're just listening to what you're saying. So my thing is, you may have heard it all, which is impossible because you don't know everything. And we haven't heard everything in life, right? But to kind of cancel out therapy, we grew up, I'm going to say we all grew up like therapy was like, like, eso no te dio, eso del diablo, like, run to God. And that's true, right? Like, go to pray and everything. But I don't see anything wrong with going to therapy, right? No. I don't see anything wrong with speaking to somebody that doesn't personally know you.
Yeah.
That they are there to listen to you and they are there to give you actual advice, and not only advice, but some exercises for you to kind of work on whatever it is that you're dealing with. And sometimes I feel like to have that mentality, I don't need anybody, I'll do this on my own. That's not even biblical for you to do things by yourself.
Yeah.
That's not biblical at all. Because if that were the case, Jesus would not have had his 12 disciples. Like, that's like the perspective that I look at it as, right? Like, what?
No, so look, this is what I'm going to say. Therapy is 100% needed in whatever positive and healthy way that you can receive it from. I will tell anyone, even though I probably struggle with it myself, I'll always tell anyone, maybe you should seek therapy, and maybe that therapy is going to the gym, eating something good for you, taking a nice walk, and then probably talking to someone mature and trustworthy about what you're dealing with.
And maybe your experience with a therapist, maybe they weren't the right one, right? They probably, that doesn't mean that the next therapist is also not going to be the right one. They'll probably be good for you. You know, I myself sometimes feel like I need a therapist because there are things that I don't know how to regulate on my own, emotions that I don't know how to handle or whatever. So I put it on the back burner and I act like I'm okay, right? Which is whatever. And then there's certain things that you don't want to express to family, you don't want to express to friends.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So okay, so going back to like men, I feel like growing up again in 2024, it's different now, right? Like we're all about, like seek help and this and men this and men that. Like growing up, men, like I think you had mentioned it earlier, right? Like and you about how as a man you had to play a very specific role. You had to kind of like, you got to be the rock for your family, your kids, your everything. And you're not allowed till this day. I don't know about you, G, but to this day, I have not seen my dad cry a tear. Like my father, like I've never seen him cry, not one tear.
No.
Like at all.
At most, he would, something that he's done for me specifically, at most, not crying, but he literally, I think he left work early and came straight to my house because he needed to talk to me and vent to me and just express his worries and concerns, but not even with crying.
Right, like, I mean, that, yeah, like, I just never seen him at all. I think maybe once, and that was like Westbury Church, and I think I was like 5. My eyes could have been deceiving me, I don't know. But the point is that men grow up with this mindset of like, you can't cry, you can't this, you can't that. So then they just hold it all in. I've known guys that they don't communicate well. Why? Because I'm not going to tell you how I feel for what? Like, what's the point? You're going to shut me down.
Or use it against me.
And it's very unfortunate that a lot of guys have that mentality, and a lot of guys have that mentality for a reason.
I was about to say that they don't just have the mentality for no reason. Something must have happened.
Right. So I can see why like men, like when it comes to like seeking help, they'd rather not, because it's almost like a pride thing, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like, but if bringing in the Bible, right, in the book of Proverbs says that pride leads to destruction. So at some point, whether you're a man or you're a woman or whatever, you have to let that pride bring it down, because if you don't, it's going to lead to your own destruction, right? Like if you're going through something mentally and it's destroying you, but because of your own pride, you're like, I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to look.
Keep going. I just got a Bible verse.
I'm going to look weak, or I'm not going to say anything because they're going to turn it against me. They're going to say something. They're going to, and a lot of people kind of have that, how can I say this without sounding? People have gone through experiences in certain communities where they will express certain things, and then next thing you know, it's being used against them from a certain power or certain position and things like that. And so they don't feel the comfortability, or they don't feel the openness to open up again, right? And that's not okay, right? It's not okay. Gee, what verse are you gonna share?
So I wanted to say that, I mean, God. Okay, so God made us all, men and women with specific roles, and as men, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
You hear something? Okay.
It's church bells.
Oh yeah. As guys, like, yeah, God called us to work, and that could be in whatever aspect that it might be needed. Maybe at home, at kids, on the job. We're meant to take care of business. And so it's like that one prophet. I don't know if correct me if I'm mistaken. Wasn't there a prophet who lost either his wife or someone personal to him? And God said, there's no time for mourning. You need to go out and preach my word, pretty much. I can't remember who exactly it was, but there was someone in the Bible They lost someone close to them, and God said, "Save your tears until you're in secret with me." You need because you can't show the people that you're talking to how painful this is. You can't show them. You need to only talk my word, get my message out there, and then when you're back home,
if you find it, let me know. That sounds interesting.
So,
it's in the book of Gerson Rivera.
I just made it up on the spot.
Gerson chapter 3.
No, but for real, I strongly believe that that's in the Bible somewhere. I remember hearing it somewhere. But look, this is the verse that I came across, and gladly I came across it during our covenant group readings.
Yeah.
So it's in Psalm chapter 32. Let's see. I'm gonna start from verse 3. All right. It says, "For when I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as in the heat of summer. I acknowledged my sin to you. I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin." Then it goes on throughout the chapter. It mentions how, because of God, He saves us from trouble. He surrounds us with shouts of deliverance, of freedom. And so, no matter where we go with this whole topic of men's mental health, we feel like we can't talk to no one. That's, I guess you were mentioning like the whole pride thing. You know, the whole, how we were raised. Oh, we can't talk to no one. We got to be a man. We got to be cold, pretty much. No. God's word Himself, it says, talk to me. Confess, and maybe it's a sin, or maybe it's a feeling, maybe it's anger, maybe it's a struggle, maybe it's a whatever it might be, decision for work, for family, for whatever it might be. Confess, because if you don't, just like it says, you're going to be weak. You're going to feel weak. Your bones are going to feel like they're wasting away. And that's, I don't know if anyone can relate. Whenever I had something bottled in me, I felt like something in me was just torturing me. Like, oh my God, I felt on edge. I would feel on edge. And the way that it says that my strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. And you know that when it's so hot outside, you get that heat exhaustion. You don't even want to do nothing. You just want to lay back in the shade or lay back in the hammock or something like that, because this heat is killing me. And that's how it is to keep things bottled in. But it says that he confessed everything to the Lord, and the Lord delivered him. And I just think that that's a beautiful thing, that even for something as tough as men's mental health or the things that we have to go through as men, God already had it in His word. Mm-hmm. Hey, the world might not notice you, but I do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, it helps to go before the Lord, especially if you have that relationship with Him already, and you kind of know how to approach Him. But I want to touch up on something. Being raised around women all my life, I kind of got the perspective of a certain type of women and how they judge and how they criticize men. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of judgment and criticism has stayed in my mind, and it had kind of reminded me constantly, like, don't show this side because you've seen how they've criticized men like this. Mm-hmm. Don't say that because you've seen how they've judged men like that, and how they would degrade them and disregard them. And so, being on the female side, I kind of started taking notes for myself and said, I need to be the opposite of what these women dislike. Mm-hmm. And so it's very torturous knowing that the moment you open your mouth to vent about anything, you lose value. For a certain kind of women, you lose value. Like nowadays, they have the whole word that says, "Oh, that gave me the ick."
Yeah.
Like he was. Can you believe that guy? He when I first met him, he was so manly, and then suddenly he opened up about something, and he started crying, and it just gave me the ick.
When I saw Gigi crying on his wedding day, it was like a. I was like,
No, I was not. Come on.
I started recording. I was like, let me get a good angle here.
Man, I was like, my life is over.
Bro, you were sobbing. I was like, and Rose was standing all the way down there. Like,
you see, if Rose is crying, everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's so beautiful." If a man cries, it's like, "Yo, what the?"
Wait, number one.
I was like, "Yo, if my husband cries like that, I'm walking back." I just wanted to share. I feel like I share this verse a lot. In Galatians chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. Yeah, verses 1 and 2. It says, brothers and sisters, someone in your group might blah, blah, blah. Brothers and sisters, someone in your group might do something wrong. You who are following the Spirit should go to the one who is sinning. Help make that person right again and do it in a gentle way, but be careful because you might be tempted in sin too. But I like verse 2 because it says, help each other with your troubles. When you do this, you are obeying the law of Christ. And actually, verse 3, which is that's the one I say a lot, is if you think you are too important to do this, you are only fooling yourself. So, like, what's my point in, like, with reading these verses is that we're all supposed to help each other out, right? So, if I'm going through something or there's something that I need to, like, vent about, I should feel comfortable going to my brothers and sisters in Christ to talk to them about that specific thing, right? Now, I think it's just a matter of finding someone that you can trust. Usually, it should be your pastor. Sometimes you have un hermano o hermana de la iglesia that you feel comfortable with. Sometimes even your friends, right? Like Nephtaly said earlier, like he can call me or he'll call G or whatever the case may be. So that leads me to my next question, which would be in regards to support systems, right? And I think you had kind of touched a little bit on that, Nephtaly, already. How important is a support system for men dealing with mental health challenges?
It's very, very. I feel like it's hard for a man to find a good support system because I've come to establish one, especially with just men alone.
Mm-hmm.
Now at this age, like it took me this long to finally have and it's only like 2 guys that I go to.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Me
I go,
and Gigi? No,
it's definitely not.
Wow.
No, Gigi's in there. I have another best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, bro.
Hey, all of a sudden, you don't even call me that, and now you're calling me that.
What? What, best friend?
Nah, just call me Gigi, man.
Oh, Gigi.
Oh, Gigi.
You guys don't even call me that, but now for the podcast, whatever.
Gigi, I do call you that.
Okay, Gerson.
I don't like that. I just
Why do you do therapy, right?
Hey, don't you dare say something.
So going back to that, yeah, I finally have 2 really good guy friends that I could go to, and not just tell them what just happened, but also tell them about things that are very personal, things that no one really knows, and sometimes we need that. We need to kind of let out some of that, some of the shame, some of the guilt, and just having someone hear it out. It feels good. It feels like, okay, like it's not eating me alive anymore. Like I've vent to someone. So it took me a while to get there, to find people, because we've had to come to a point where we were mature enough to have those kinds of conversations. I think or Gerson, sorry. I've known you since I was we were like 11 or 12.
I was probably like 10. It was 6th grade.
10, I was like 11, and we were too childish. We were going through our own thing, and it wasn't until like after high school that we started having like
18 years. I know you for 18 years, man.
Yeah,
that's disgusting.
We started having deeper conversations, and he would vent about things I never knew about, and I've known him for so long.
Yeah. Like my favorite color.
So yeah, it's very important for us. What was the question again? Did I answer it?
If a support system was important.
Oh, it's very important.
Thanks for saying why they're important.
So anyways, going back to the question.
Anyways,
it's very important. What do you think, bro? Do you want to answer the question?
I feel like
Dude,
I'm
you
always...
should say no because he does it by himself.
No, look.
Nobody.
Look. I feel like I'm a very conflicting person when it comes to the advice. Like, I'll give the advice. I'm a coach. I'll give the. I'll give the
I don't want
advice.
this coach in my life.
I'll give the advice, but I'm not going to play the game. You know.
Gee, how important is a support system in a men's life?
But that's what I'm saying. It's very important, but I just don't seek it.
So you don't go to Nephtaly.
I'll talk. The thing is, I'll talk to Nephtaly sometimes, but the thing is,
why don't you seek it though? Is my question. Like, how has it been going for you? Doing this, feeling like you're doing it alone.
That's
okay. Thanks for answering the question.
Okay, man, can I think, man? Can I think? Don't play.
He's actually crying right now, guys.
Give him a second.
No, look, it's very important to seek out help. I mean, just like the Bible says. Of course, in most cases, the Bible either says first God, then a friend that's closer than as a brother, and a group of people that you can encourage. Hebrews 10:25. People that will encourage you, you encourage them, all that stuff. And so, yeah, it's super important. But my problem is that
if you know how important it is, then why don't you?
Because
why don't you follow your own advice?
I guess because what's it called? I guess that's something I'm working on because of the past. The past has molded me in a way where I feel like I can't depend on anyone. And for one, I feel like I could always talk to Bob. You know, I love him. I respect him. Greatest man I will ever know. But also on top of that, going to your father as a son, I feel like one of my biggest jobs as a son is to make my father proud. How can I make my father proud if I'm coming to him with problems that I can't solve on my own? Or, I mean, that I should be solving on my own.
Yeah, that's
you know?
Yeah.
I had to correct myself.
Yeah, but I mean, seeking your dad's advice also feels good for the dad because he's like, wow, like my son's coming to me.
Yeah, but
advice, but not...
I think as a father, like, we want to see our kid figure it out as well. Like, because we take pride in knowing that we've equipped our children to...
Look, this is how it is. This is how it probably is in my head. A father... Okay. I'll wait until you guys are done with your little child session.
Sorry. Why are we laughing?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
I got no kids.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
This is why she doesn't bed.
Exactly
why he doesn't go to people.
Sorry
about that.
Anyway. Because every time I talk, I'm disregarded. No, look. So, this is how I feel it is that...
Because as parents, we want to...
As a father, or I feel like from a father's perspective, take 7.
As a father. Okay, go ahead.
As a father.
So in the beginning. Anyway. A father doesn't want to show his kids his emotional side, just like Poppy never has. But we know as his children, hey Pop, this is a safe space for you to express yourself. You know? But a father still wouldn't do that even if we gave him the permission to do so. But even as children, our desire is to honor and not be disappointments to our parents. And even though their job is to love us and be like, it's okay, no matter what you do, no matter what you said or did, I'm here for you. You don't got to worry about that. It's like, on our end, it's like, I don't want to be a disappointment to you. I love you. You did so much for me. I respect you. I want you to just be proud of me.
Yeah, like you want to prove yourself.
Exactly.
In one way.
So my father is someone I go to for advice about certain things or help on certain things, but I would never come to him in the position where it's like, I have this problem, I don't have a solution for it. No. One, I'll probably vent to him about the problem and then tell him what my solution is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that's where his advice comes in, where it's like, hey, maybe that's a good idea, but I think you should do this, this, and this,
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, Z. And I'll be like, you know what, thanks, Pop, that's some good advice. But besides that, anyone else is not. I wouldn't say anyone else is incompetent, because no. But
So you they are though.
to a certain extent, I feel like everyone else is just not needed, and that falls into numerous categories. Again, just like I said, I will encourage anyone to seek out help, seek out therapy, seek out this, seek out that. But for me, no, because not just in the emotional field, but like in the physical aspect or the mental aspect, a lot of people, a lot of guys or friends have not been there to be able to give me that support that they keep saying it's okay to,
I figured
you know.
Yeah.
I'm not,
You gave. I'm not. But you gave them the opportunity to be there,
yeah.
and you've made yourself vulnerable to want them to let yourself to let them know that you are in need.
Yeah.
That takes vulnerability.
I feel like I've just
now
been
recently you've made connections with people
Yeah.
where, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but do you feel like now that your life is kind of going a different direction that you've come across people that you can in a way talk to and open up to? And
100%. And so look, again, I feel like I'm changing because, like, yeah, I reconciled my life with God in the beginning of the year. I'm still kind of struggling with certain habits or words or things, like, or musics or a bunch of stuff or mentalities that I had before I reconciled. And I don't want to say trauma, because God has always been good. Life has always been good. Everything's a learning experience. But certain, like habits and mentalities from back then. And I've just been disappointed too much. People, like, okay,
By people.
Just like Nephtaly said, I've given people opportunities to prove themselves every single time they let me down.
I always go back to this example, right? The two boys that grew up with an alcoholic father, where one grows up, becomes an alcoholic, and he says, I'm an alcoholic because my dad was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And the other kid grows up,
I'm not
drinking alcohol at all because my dad was an alcoholic.
Right.
So it's like, we can say the same thing. Like, I've been let down by so many people that I no longer am going to depend on them. I no longer am going to trust them. I no longer am going to like invest my time in them. But that's not fair for the next person that comes into your life that maybe is a good person, that is a trustworthy person, that is a loyal person, that is a caring person, that because of the people in your past that they've done you wrong, the people in your future, you treat them just the same way. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
it's not fair.
It's not fair for
them.
It's
not fair.
You know, so again, I get what you're saying about the whole like disappointed thing.
I think the difference is the vulnerability and the pride that lives within us as men. I don't know what kind of pride it is. I don't want to say that every pride is the same, because there's a pride that God wants us to get rid of, and then there's a pride that I believe there's a healthy pride out there. I have to search it more, but I feel it. But it takes a lot. I'm going to speak for myself, but it takes a lot for me to show vulnerability, like to open up, because once you go in, you're basically welcome to do whatever you want. You could do anything you want to me, and it's going to be really hard for me to recover. So that I know of myself.
Right. Like, I'm not saying to let everybody in, and I'm not saying to like, you know, but I guess because there's people like, I can meet new people and I'm not going to be like, oh, you know, whatever with them. Yeah. So you were talking about like, you're working on changing certain things, right? In regards to not talking to people and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of it has to do with the environment changes a lot. And environment doesn't mean state. It doesn't mean whatever. Environment could just mean people. And because, like, for instance, there's people that, you know, there's people that they choose who gets, how do you put it? They get to choose who gets the best of them. when God called us to give our best to everybody, type of thing, you know? And it's like, there's people that if someone needed help installing a door, 10 people would show up to help that person install a door. But you have me putting 200 feet worth of fencing and not one person showed up besides my father.
Okay, that was like the past though, right?
No, but that's what I'm saying. So the environment. Yeah. But the environment I'm in, that we're in now.
And also, like, ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things that they're talking about, right? Like, men asking for help. When do you seek help if you need help?
No, but yeah, like, we ask for help. But the thing is, people always have an excuse.
It's like, ask for help and also hold people accountable. Like, I feel like that's how you know who to keep in your life.
But probably edit this out, but yeah, the people that I held accountable, they ignored every effort I made.
But anyways, so what steps would you say that you're taking to break that cycle? If you're taking any steps.
Well, one, turning your life over to Christ is the biggest one. That sounds cliche, and I hate sounding cliche because it's like it's cringe, like oh, like, but it's very true. God is always the first step in being your best self, 100%, and through that, church, community, but then seeking the right church that where they have fellowship. Exactly. Right. You know, if we're a body, how is it that the hand could go anywhere without the foot, or the eye could go anywhere without, you know, some other body part?
So are those the steps that you're taking yourself? Is like trying to fellowship more, be around specific people more. Yes. Like kind of okay. All right. Have you noticed or seen any changes since?
Yeah.
Okay. Nephtaly, how about you? Have you taken any steps to kind of like break that cycle of, you know?
Yeah. Allowing people to help me. Mm-hmm. There's people who want to help, but sometimes, you know, the whole pride thing can get in the way, but just giving them the opportunity to help. And sometimes they don't know that you need help, so it's also letting people know I need help. You know, for example, like there was a time where I was so in my head that I didn't even want to cook, and you know, I'd either reach out to you and be like, "Yo, Tanya, did you cook?" Or you would say, "Hey, did you eat?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like I took that opportunity, and not only did we share a meal, and it took care of that situation, but it also gave us the opportunity to talk, to vent, and then like I was able to get out of my head by the end of that night.
So something that I guess I just want to get it out there. It's personal, but I don't know. Maybe it'll help other people see, I guess, how I'm changing in a sense, but also I guess to confess for myself, how I feel like I'm changing is that when we lost Julia, the same week. Oh well, no, you know it happens. You know, I got to go to work. I need to I got to continue doing my chores. I still got to cut the lawn. I still got to be there for my family. I still got to do, you know, like it never happened. I lost a daughter, and I had to live like it didn't happen. No one was really there to support. I didn't know I had to seek support. I kind of just figured, well, you know, as a guy, you know, I'll probably feel it when when it's probably the right time. But until then, I got to handle business as usual. And the thing is, I was still in kind of like a denial for like 6 months. And then after that 6 months, I didn't know how to process anything. No one was there to help me process. I mean, a couple of people reached out, "Hey, sorry for your loss." Okay, great, thank you. But besides that, like, how do you deal with that? I never had that happen before, and no one was there to guide me and help me. And so I feel like from that point on, that kind of sparked in me, like, you know what? There's a lot more going on in people's minds than we know, and I'm gonna put it in myself to make sure that people know that they have someone comfortable to talk to, you know? But in this case, and like just being open and transparent, the past several weeks have been extremely difficult. We lost our grandfather. You know, he's not a daughter that we didn't get to uh, have life with. He was someone that we had all of our life. Every laugh, every joke, every gift, every birthday, every holiday, every picnic, everything. He's an extension of our hearts. And in an instant, only God knows why, in an instant, he's gone. And that's been extremely tough on me. I don't like where people from the church know I didn't want to see no one. I don't want to talk to no one. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. I love going to the gym, and I don't even want to go to the gym because the couple of times I've went, I felt overwhelmed, and I would go after like doing 15 minutes of something. I feel like I'm gonna freak out. I love going to like the church that we go to now. It's extremely beautiful. I love it with all my heart.
We love you guys.
I love it with all my heart. I love the people with all my heart. They're amongst one of the best people I've ever met in my life. And even then, I felt too overwhelmed to go to church. That's not exactly the best feeling to have. You know, that's probably not a godly feeling to have. But I guess in the way that I'm changing from there is that I'm not living the way that I did when we lost Julia. I'm allowing myself to cry. Thank God for my family. Thank God for the support system. Thank God for the church that has been a support system. That not only have they supported me without me asking, but they have been there when I have been trying to push myself very uncomfortably to speak up. But and so I don't feel like I'm in that denial phase. I don't feel like I'm in that business as usual phase. I'm a lot more able to express myself. And it's a beautiful thing because as hard as it's been, and it's not a competition where I'm trying to compare which loss was more harder, but this one has been 100% more possible to get through because I put it within myself to, of course, I have God in my corner. I acknowledge that God's in my corner, and I have a support system. I have the church, I have the fellowship, I have the community. And so, yeah, like, don't bottle things in. I think I mentioned earlier the Psalms, Psalms chapter 32. Don't bottle it in. God created all of us, as much as we want to be antisocial, God created all of us to have connections. Like, it's crazy to think about. God really made us to be social, whether we want to or not. And it's in the word. If you're quiet, you're going to be miserable. Open your mouth. Tell someone how you're feeling. Tell God how you're feeling. And I feel like that's been the biggest change for me is that, yeah, I confessed. I'm open. I'm transparent. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm almost done.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez, shut up.
Grab this mic.
But something that I also deeply appreciate is like, yeah, back when we lost Julia, it was business as usual, and everyone expected me to maintain that business as usual. And now that we lost Abuelo, though it probably wasn't the best decision for me to be like, hey, like I don't feel like okay going to church because it's always good to go to church.
Right. But
they've been understanding enough to be like, hey, like we understand if you need to take some time to grieve, but we are here for you. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like they would force themselves on me that we're here for you, like just so you know. Yeah. And because I really needed to feel it. I really needed to feel it where as much as I love them, I already been through having to suck it up and do business as usual while feeling denial or pain and grief. And it got me nowhere, being overstimulated. But now they're like, allow yourself to heal first and come back. But in the process, we're here for you. We're one call away.
Right. I can hop on that train, no longer about like men's mental health, but with the loss of Paolo, I think that I've been trying to figure out how to cope with it all. I don't think I've been able to figure it out. I don't think I've been able to regulate my emotions as one should during this time. But I do appreciate, yeah, the support that we've received, the care, the messages. Yeah. So again, yeah, I can say the same thing. Like, it's been an interesting ride. But anyway, thanks to you guys for coming on, for talking a little bit about men's mental health. Not exactly sure who this will reach, but if there is anyone that is dealing with some sort of mental health issues, maybe there's some things that you don't feel comfortable sharing with someone, there's nothing wrong with you seeking help. You know, either if you don't feel comfortable with your friends or your family, then hey, look into a therapist. Find someone online that has a degree, that is certified. Even if you have to pay a good 30-50 bucks sometimes, depending on what job you work for, they also have that option where your insurance can even help you as well with those sorts of things. This sounds like an ad. No one is sponsoring me. I wish they were, because that means that maybe some money would be involved. But this is all for free because we care for you and we love you. So thanks for joining. And on the count of three, we're going to say bye. 1, 2, 3.
Bye.